Hello, Frontend friends. Come on. Hello, Frontend friends. Awesome, thank you. You ready to be inspired, energized, be engaged in the moment? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Welcome to this talk that is officially a lie. I'll tell you soon why. My name is Andreas Wänqvist. Work for an awesome company called Voyado. Maybe, hopefully, Sweden's next unicorn. Look us up if you want to do cool stuff or just want to know what we do. Used to be tech lead and web architect until just recently, and apparently now I am the company's AI architect. And I'm not a designer, which you will see from this very presentation, unfortunately. But I do like CSS. I do think it's cool. Web is one of my biggest hobbies. Anyone seen this before? One, not more, two, three? You mean the one in the middle? Right? Yeah. Aurelia. So, oh, hi. I am a core team member of the SPA framework, JS framework, Aurelia. Awesome for .NET developers. If you ever have to be forced outside your comfort zone, write a SPA, check out Aurelia, or even better, ping me, I'll coach you. I like Azure. I used to work in the Azure division at Microsoft before I joined Voyado. And one of my latest hobbies is actually semantic kernel. If you recognize the logo, it's AI stuff. Oh, I forgot to say, it's so new. I actually turned MVP last week, 2 days before I turned 50. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're way too kind. It's super cool. So I turned 50 2 days after. So that means, kids, it's never too late. Never too late. Anyone know math? Hand up. Cool. More or less than 10? More, yes, way more. So the talk that's just a pitch, because everyone knows if you have a blog post and you say the 10 best fishing lures for fishing bass, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to click this one. No one knows why, but 10 is always good, right? But then the CSS kind of comes up with new stuff, and there's lots of old stuff as well that I want to talk about that are really cool. So we have lots to do. People often complain I talk too slowly. I'll try not to do that today, which means that if I glance over something too fast and you think that was cool, I want to know more, but I was too fast, and you go, tell me more, okay? Promise? I might say, I'll do it on Twitter or afterwards or whatever, but we'll see how it goes with time, okay? Couple of conventions. So this is not the PowerPoint. You probably figured that one out. This is a web page. In green boxes, you will have CSS. In blue boxes, you will have markup, aka HTML. Okay? So, divided by year, cool things in the list. We need to skip a bit back and forth because I wasn't thinking clearly when I did all the demos. So I'm using the cool stuff, but out of order. Custom properties. Let's start with that. So this is really old, 2017. Have you used it? Hand up. Come on. Not more? Oof. Custom properties really good. This is what we used to use SAS, less and all those. Praise to you. who set the standards before we came there with the CSS spec itself, right? Super nice. You declare a property with dash dash and the string, and then you can use it wherever with var and named string, right? What's good with that? Well, they help keep your code dry. They're really good for design systems. It's like now impossible to have a design system without having specified properties, right? Important thing, there's scope to where they are declared, which means you can declare it within a class and don't expect it to be available somewhere else in another class or the root or whatnot. So most often we declare them all on the root object. And important, they can't be used to declare media queries or container queries. Looks like this. So they can be a simple string, can be a length value with whatever pix, m, rem, v, w. They can be even more complex. You see, oh, nice color value, RGB function. Used like this, var, dash, dash, color. We have this box where we use the color for background color and the box shadow with shadow. And the result is a box. Thank you. Really good for design systems, as I said in the beginning. So what's special with design systems? Most often you want to tweak them. So if I have user prefers dark mode or light mode, or even if I have visually impaired users that needs high contrast, etc. You can use media queries and just redefine the properties within them. So like super cool. So you don't have to go in and change all your code everywhere. Just use the properties, right? And the result of that one prefers color scheme dark is that I can change bad color choices, but you saw it turn pink, right? Now we'll turn purple again. Yep. I wanted to show those first of all because I used them spread out over the entire presentation later on. And nesting is also, this is new, 2023, real new. I saw you thinking, is 23 real new, really? Really? Oh, well, in CSS land it's quite kind of new. Once again, praise to SAS, Les, all those who paved the way. Nesting used to be one of the reasons we picked SAS almost before. Really good. Now it's available in all the browsers. Yay, good. Small note though, do be sure that your users aren't using outdated browsers. And there are, ask me how I know, ways for an IT admin to say, you're not supposed to be able to update your Chrome, whoever you might be in the IT organization. And the users will mail into you, say, your app looks like crap. And you ask, oh, well, what version of Chrome are you running? They say, oh, the latest. I just pushed the update button. And it turns out they have a 3-year-old version because IT won't let them upgrade. So it is totally possible. Some of the other things will go through here. That's like, much of it is icing on the cake. If it breaks for some user, not a big deal. If you rewrite all your CSS for a site to be nested, well, everything is going to be impacted, of course. So your entire site is going to collapse if your users don't have new browsers, right? Super important. Simple nesting, What does it mean? Well, it means you can just put the CSS properties nested below each other, and you can nest it for a long while. Result of it, section and H2, this is just a purple, nice linear gradient. So it means that all my H2s that are within a section, second one, will get this styling, and this one is outside the section and won't be affected. Simple result. Very, very nice code though. Super nice. Complex nesting is good to know. You can use, but you don't have to use the ampersand unless it is compound selectors. So if you want a really big phone, or a phone that also happens to be really big, there's a difference, right? So for compound, you need the ampersand. Remember that. So this is going good. Might make time. Grid. Who's used grid? Oh, there's a lot of you. Good, 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 good. So what are we talking about? Bootstrap, 2008, something. They started and they came out with the 12-column grid. And everyone was like, it was heaven, right? Super easy to position those elements in those nice swim lanes. We knew where we had our stuff. Only boring thing was that every site on the web looked the same for 10 years afterwards, but hey, we're past that now. Now we have it natively in CSS. And it has been there-ish since 2017. Actually, there were some improvements year after year, so the last things fell in place around 2020, I think. Really good. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. There are years up here and also a Can I Use link. If you want to pull down this presentation and check out the stuff. Do you know what Can I Use is, by the way? Oh, some nod, some don't. Well, it's a super good site, which if you press that link, you go to Can I Use, and you will see for that specific thing which browsers support it. So as a web developer or designer responsible for releasing UX, you always have to go to Can I Use, and you just like away 82% right now. Can we release this? No, probably not, etc. So it's good to know. Oh, I killed the entire browser. That was really crafty of me. Wrong one. Sorry, I thought Alt F4 was just going to kill the tab. It did not. So here we go. Except for having, or I'll back that up. There is no predefined 12-lane grid, right? You define your own grids. But that means you have total control, right? Really good. Simple way to do it is just grid template columns, and you say make this 100 pixels, 200 pixels, 100 pixels, and you got 3 columns of that exact size. Same with rows. Positioning stuff is just slap in a class or whatever. You say I want this to be in grid column 2, just number 2, and grid row you can say start at 3, end at 4. Spans 2, right? You also have span available. This one. You can say start at 1, span 2, for example. And you can use lines. Square brackets, that's the name, right? And the string. And you will have a line defined by that name. And you can actually use that name to position stuff. So grid column between the left edge and center. Left edge defined here, center defined here. You we we can use auto, fraction, and repeat. Really smooth. Auto, take the space you need. You'll have some content into you. Adapt to the content. Fraction. I don't know if you use that. Use that with Flexbox as well. Really good. You say. That's a hard example, but say, oh, the top one is good. 1 fraction, 3 fraction, 1 fraction. That means divide the entire screen into 5. And give them 1/5, 3/5, 1/5. Repeat, also nice. Lowest example, grid template columns. Repeat 3 of 1 fraction. Means give me 3 columns equally sized and then repeat. What does repeat mean? Well, if I keep shoving in whatever into that container, say I add a div, it will just add another box. After 3, I will start on the next row automatically. Simple example, the repeat example, shove in 7 divs, and this is what it ends up at. Super easy, very nice way to handle layouts that have any height. If you just have rows, Flexbox is really good, but as soon as you start building elements on the height, I recommend you switch over to grid. We can also create them using just strings at names. Really smooth. This is the classical, what's called hourglass layout we used to do before. You have a header, you have left, sidebar, main, and the footer. Then you position your classes. Just tell them which grid area they're supposed to end up in. And this is really cool. This makes us able to actually put the elements out of order. This is something you don't do without being punished for in HTML normally, right? Header on the bottom. What is this? Cats and dogs running together on the street soon. But it works because the layout engine will just look at which area is it supposed to be in, and voila, it works. Super cool, right? Implicit areas, square brackets, and you define your string and you slap on -start and -end. This will let you have those lines we were talking about before, but they implicitly also create an area in between them. So, main start, main end means that there is a main area there as well, not only the lines. And we can use that without having to specify it. Nice, hey, hey, hey. Media and container queries, really nice. If you, that hourglass layout we just had, what happens when you come to cell phone? Well, probably you'll just have a menu in the left one and you'll have spammy ads in the right side lane. You want to collapse that, show the important stuff, and the menu will probably be a hamburger or something, like we usually do, right? So then you define your container query and do a little shenanigans. Just say that the left one, well, display none, you're gone. And we rearranged template areas to just header, main, and footer, which means it's going to look like this, widescreen, like this on mobile. Easily fixed, easily done. Unset. Have you used that? Anyone? It is super simple, but every now and then I see some new colleague that hasn't been doing web for that many years just scratch their heads, and it's like this property is being inherited down through the cascade, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Well, you just use unset. that will set to either the initial value or the inherited value. It depends on what property it is, so you have to look that up to be careful. But this example, we have a div, slap a couple of paragraphs in them. Okay, last one paragraph is special because it has a class that says no border. Some CSS. We say that the div and all its children should have a red border. We say that the paragraphs here should have a border that is green. That will be more specific than the top one, right? So all paragraphs, ideally, should be green. We have a couple of specials here, though. The last one with the class that had no border has a border unset. And the first child of the div has a border inherit. So what's going to happen? All paragraphs should be green, topmost. This is more specific than the P, so inherit should inherit from the div above, right? And the last one is unset. And I can tell you that border is not inheriting. So that will end up in this. Inherit or unset. Now it's blank. Simple, good, nice to have in your toolbox. There's real old stuff though. Here, we need to get to the new 2018. Hover media query. This used to be really cool. When cell phones came out, we had no idea what hover was in the beginning in CSS. There was some really cool hacks where with JavaScript you had some kind of background element where you listen if you got hover events from the mouse or mouse over events from the mouse, which didn't show up if you had the cell phone because there was no mouse then, of course, right? It's not that good, but now we have a media query. Allows us to design for mobile and touch devices that doesn't have hover in a very good and consistent way. We use it with hover, 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 none, or we can actually just short this to hover, which is our weird syntax, I think, but it looks like this. Small example, we have a nav, a couple of divs, images, and a title below. And we say that the title has opacity 0, invisible. But when we hover it, it will have 1. So we will see the title. And hover none. That means opacity should be 1 when we have no hover, aka cell phone, always up. And when we hover title and hover property, it will turn into opacity 1, so fade in. Looks like this. So not that much fade in, more pop in, I see now. But if we switch over to cell phone, see, always there. Super cool. No more JavaScript hacks. Yay! CSS math. Do you do calculations in your CSS? Really good. What do you use most? Minimax. Oh, good. Very good. I saw hands back there. Yeah, Minimax. Calc, old school. Yeah, I like it. Calc is old. That was 2013 even. That's a lot of years ago. But we found out we needed more, right? So min-max and clamp came. Minimax are nice. But for me, the star of the show here is clamp. Anyone use clamp? One person. Good, sir. Good. So, super simple syntax. Minimum, preferred max. If you go outside of bounds, you will be capped, right? Both ends. Super simple. You can actually do math inside of this without using calc, says the spec. I have not tried. It sounds funny, but if the spec says it's that way, you should probably try it. I think that's the only place in CSS it's allowed to not use calc when calculating. Anyways, looks like this. Width or font size. So minimum 1 rem should never be smaller than, depending on the width, expand, but maximum 2.5 or whatever. Really good. No proper example, but why is this good is the question. Why do I love it? Anyone? Awesome! Totally awesome. It's wrong, but it was awesome. Good with a guess. It is because you avoid the media query. Right? All of a sudden I have a one-line media query here. See, this is why CSS is cool. Flex gap. Grid gap, it was called first when grid came out, long time ago. But then the Flex boys said, we want a gap as well. So we introduced it for Flex as well. And then everyone started calling it Flex gap. And then CSS working group decided, no more grid or Flex wars. We're just going to call it gap. But for some reason, people still call it Flex gap, I think. So that's why it says Flex gap. This is really nice, works in grid containers, flex containers, and multi-column layouts. Anyone used multi-column, by the way? Oh, it's one of the hidden gems in CSS. It's real old school. Look it up. Super simple. So, syntax. First value is for row gap, second is for column gap. And it says that if one is omitted, it doesn't even say that both are assumed to be the same, but it's essentially what's happening. Definition is kind of quirky. Really simple. Flexbox, slap on some gap, 4 and 2 rems, a couple of boxes in that flex container, and it will end up like this. Question is, why is gap cool? Why is it hanging with the cool kids? Did you raise your hand, sir? Are you sure? You can answer? Anyways? It is because, how did we solve this otherwise? Paddings and margins, right? And what happened with those? They're bullies. They shove around other elements and make stuff bad, generally. So gap won't affect stuff outside the container and the direction. It's just among the elements. And that was kind of a problem before, because you wanted to fix this gap, but then you had all the other directions, so you had to go in and set them to null and stuff like that. Oh, what do we got now? Oh, viewport units! Oops, sorry. I'm too eager. Oof. Developing for cell phones. Fidgeting around with and realizing what you thought was perfect. Had a scroll bar in the next release of the phone OS because they updated something. Anyone ended up doing that? Anyone ended up cursing loudly? Yes, thank you, Erik. It used to be a hassle. Why? Why was this such a big problem? It was because that the 100 viewport height was really inconsistent among models and how they treated their Chrome, basically. some, especially Android, like decided to, when you didn't touch the screen in the right way, or you started to scroll, it removed its Chrome, and it was chaos, total chaos. So what happened then? Well, we had the small viewport and the large viewport, and then you had to JavaScript things again, yes, and find out what kind of display am I having, which kind of sucks, of course. And then we got dynamic viewport units. Yay! All praise the CSS working group. That just worked. And everyone was like, why couldn't we have done this from the beginning? But at least now we have it, right? Stole those pictures from MDN. Thank you very much. Check out the article if you feel like it. We did CSS nesting. Oh, we're ahead of class. Cool. Container queries. Good old days. We had media queries. Anyone use them? Oh, that's more than... Very good, very good. So, media queries, what are they? They're looking at device properties, right? So we always had the restyle depending on device, which was most often screen. So, oh, I'm on an iPad. I have to narrow down, and then I have to take that into consideration, maybe change some CSS properties and restyle elements. Now the elements themselves can decide how do I want to look depending on how big I am. So that's the big difference. It looks like this. You define a parent container with the containment context. It just says which direction, right? Inline size, normal. Or rather, sorry, size is depending on RTL, most case R language, size is that way, inline that way. I think a normal is the default one. And then in this example, we have a card class, which has a width, and we have a big, which we override with, twice as big. Then we also have an info class in the big cards. Then we slap on a container query that says that as long as you above 1200, you're okay, but when you go below, then we'll decrease the width. And big width goes from 60 to 30. And we also hide that display, or rather we hide that info class because it's going to be too much. So it looks like this, big cards, and you see the info. We start toggling this. See, as it goes below 1200, snap. Info is gone, size is different, and my monitor is still the same size. It's just a container it lived in that decreased. Nice, eh? It's really good. If you have a lot of widgets on dashboard, for example, this is really nice to be able to not only the entire width, but if you have a grouping, your users want to change the width of it, and you can say, well, I might not want to display stuff on the width, rather height, etc. Change things. Very good, very good. Has selector. Have you used this? No one. Oh, one. Oh, there we go. This is highly requested for a very long time by the CSS community. I think it ends up with not being used that much anyways, but it's really good to have it there. We used to have it in SAS. Compile time feature. And what it is, in effect, it's a parent selector. So here, example, we can choose a div that has a first child. Sorry, we select the H2 that has a div as a first child. But that's the only condition, which means we have selected the parent of that div. So this H2 has a child that's a P. It's an H3 with the div though, but it's not styled, right? H2 with the div. And the result is purple heading. Really, really good. Remember that one. You might not see immediate use cases for it, but it's going to be invaluable when you're doing complex styling. Scroll snap. That's fun. This was also driven by exactly JavaScript. We used to use JavaScript and loads of JavaScript for this in the good old days. Now we don't have to. Super nice. We can set snap direction and attach positioning. We can also set strictness, which is very good to know. Mandatory or proximity decides how and when it's going to snap. If you say mandatory, it's always going to snap. Proximity is you kind of ish close, so we're going to snap you. Scroll snap align. You can set where the element will snap to. Do I want to snap it to the top, center, bottom? There's also none, which is really confusing, but also cool. Looks like this. So you see top, it has scroll snap align top. Other one, scroll snap center, you see, nicely aligned center. Bottom, you see the bottom of the box to this parent. Are you grasping where it's snapping? Yes. Top, center, top, bottom, really cool. Top, yes. It doesn't work. It can't, but it tried. You saw it scrolled really fast sometimes as well. As soon as I release this, it's going to scroll away because this has no snap align, none. Isn't that weird? I don't know what that's going to be used for, but it's there. If you want to confuse someone, use this. Really good to know is that if you have mandatory, right, and you have content that's larger than the screen, you will have problems. Or you, not you, but your users will have problems because when they're trying to scroll to read the bottom one and they release, it's just going to move, right? Snap. As soon as they release, just like me trying to show you none here, right? So remember that. If you use scroll snap, make sure content height is correct.
Can you combine it with an animation?
I'm not sure if you can control it, but the way you would do it is, I'm guessing, do you want to see it scroll slower or? Well, it is animated. Maybe isn't that showing? It's really fast though. Is it? That one shows the speed of it. Yeah. I don't know if that's stylable. Not sure. I can look it up. Ping me on LinkedIn or whatever. I'll look it up and we can find out together. I don't know if you noticed that, but this entire presentation so this is web page and this is just scroll snap in between all the slides. So that's what's being used. So it's definitely usable. Scroll-based animation. This you can control. Scroll-driven animation defines two types of timelines. You can link a timeline to a scroll position, a scroller, the one you drag, scroll position, right? And also an element position. You have an element in a parent some way, wherever that is, can be linked to scroll animation. And it drives an animation that you define with keyframes, aka we style it ourselves. Scroll progress timelines. Depending how you scroll, it drives the CSS animation forwards or backwards. Setting it up with a couple of keyframes. This is really nice. So it goes from background color purple and being scaled to X size nothing, and then goes to hot pink and scale 1, full size, right? Setting it up in the block looks like this. It's kind of a contrived example, I know, but I was hard visualizing it. So you see, this is the scroll bar. I styled those as well, but you might have seen that here. It's not your regular Chrome style bar. You can style those, by the way. If you didn't know, now you know. So there you go, scrolling up and down. Bound to the scroll bar position is this key animation. Cool, right? Scroll timeline, really nice. You can bound it to different boxes or scopes, which means you can bind it to your root parent, nearest, or something else. And the result of this, arrow up, I don't know if you saw that. Do you see the small purple line up there? That is bound to the scrolling of the entire page. So that's one of those readers. You have not read this article this far. That remember? That was at least 2 megabytes of JavaScript, right? We used before, yeah. Now we can do that just with CSS. Subgrid. So, I asked Dalle to show me, like, draw 3 boxes height, width, make them purple. Yes, this is what I got. Not what I was expecting, more of a grid line. But what is a subgrid? Well, it's a way for us to pick out the part of a grid, like this. Why is this cool? Because it was really hard to align things inside the grid before we had subgrid, if you wanted to take up a larger space. So that's why subgrid is really, really nice. Color functions. I have really bad demos of this, unfortunately, where there's lots of new color ranges coming in. Really nice, vibrant colors. Super hard to see the difference on a projector, but here you can see the vibrant new nice colors. And these are gradients. And what's interesting here is that what is a gradient? It's a way to make your way over a color wheel from one color to another. Turns out all the color wheels are not constructed in the same way. So if you start using one of these new fancy colors and you have gradients, they are most likely going to change, and not just being slightly more vibrant, nice colors as the commercial says. They might change entirely. So know that, right? Otherwise, they're really good. Use them. Really nice on screens and phones, especially new fruit phones. Super nice. Last one. Light dark function. Anyone heard of it? Come Cool, totally new. So, you have to set a color scheme on your root. They can have the value normal, light, dark, or combination of light, dark, dark, light, and also only light. This specifies that you can use this function, but most of all, when you set the color schema on your root, you say that I either support light, only light, or light and dark in a combination, or I support dark, but why is there only light? Well, VCAG actually says that you cannot have a web page that dictates that it will only show in dark mode no matter what the user says, because it's accessibility, right? With this, you can use the function light dark, which you give two values, and they can be, as you see, values, strings, color strings, or properties, right? And then the light dark function will select the right color for you depending on what the user wants. How amazing is that? That means our design systems are yet again even enhanced. Everything is getting easier, right? So this and sorry. If I switch over, you will see that the entire page changes because I've used light dark. The menu looks different as well. Didn't say it looked good, but it looks different, right? Super simple. It used to be very, very hard and complex, and now it's all so very simple and easy. So, thank you very much. I hope you went from this to this. Yes. Awesome. Thank you very much. If you want to snap a picture, this is where you will find the code. Please contact me. Yeah, thank you. You can clap. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't have to say something nice, but if you give me just one tidbit, I can improve for the next talk. I will buy you a cookie, love you forever, whatever you want. Thank you very much for coming.